Sometimes when I sleep, I have the brightest dream.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Torres. I am a multidisciplinary artist and disability advocate. I am also the founder of Backbones, a nonprofit that supports and connects people with spinal cord injuries. I'm really glad to be here today with two artists, Stephanie Alma and Bianca Eunice, who recently participated in the 3 Arts Bodies of Work residency program. As a fellow alum from that program myself, I'll be leading a conversation with them about their work, their experiences in the residency, and the ways they situate themselves within the disability culture community. This conversation is part of a series called the Disability Culture Leadership Initiative, led by 3 Arts in partnership with Bodies of Work. Special thanks to the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, including Commissioner Rachel Arfa, and the Central West Community Center here in Chicago, which is one of the outposts operated by the Mayor's Office and where we're filming today. Stephanie Alma is a singer, songwriter, and producer interested in the sounds of disability identity and self-awareness through formal and informal vocal expression. Bianca Eunice is an illustrator and cartoonist who has published work in national outlets, often focusing on autobiographical stories about identity and social justice. Thank you both. All right, to get us started, in your own words, can you each take a moment and tell us a little bit about your work, describe your art?
So I focus in combining writing and illustration, which like the classic term to that is comics. And yeah, a lot of those stories focus on a lot of my identities, and the reason why I actually started creating comics was because I wanted to see more people who looked like me represented in the media. And to not only put out myself and be vulnerable with myself, to be like, you deserve to exist and you have a right to be here, but to also sort of normalize who I am in a way that these stories that I put out are often relatable, they're often autobiographical, and I hope that my audience connects with this work in a way that we can kind of almost remove the identities and the boxes that we check, and that we can see that we're all on this spaceship together, you know, just having the same sort of highs and lows and emotions.
I connect to that a lot already, because I write songs, I compose music. Right now I'm in a band that's called Raro, which actually means strange or weird in Spanish. And for me, that name was derived from my place in the world. I do have a rare disability, and my identity as a whole, I always do feel like in between 2 worlds. And so most of my songwriting, my poetry is telling that story and also telling life lessons, and it's a way for me to spread kind of, I guess you can say, remedies or like ways that I have learned have worked for me moving through the world, and lessons that took me several years to learn, and now sharing that through a 3 or sometimes 7-minute piece, because my songs are not only, they could be like 7 minutes long, they could be pretty long. I try not to limit the ideas that I'm having, and that's why I do like informal and formal vocal expression. And that's basically, so I do connect a lot with your work and your openness to telling your story. That's something I'm still working on, how to also safely tell my story, so for myself and for others, because some topics can be pretty heavy. But that comes from other artists and seeing what they're doing and seeing like, oh, okay, I feel comfortable in this work, so maybe this is also helping me learn more who I am, and I hope that I can do that for others as well, that are moving through the world with rare disabilities and and somewhat confusing identities sometimes.
So you each participated in the 3 Arts Bodies of Work residency program, and I did as well. And it's a really customized program where deaf and disabled artists can design their projects that they're working on. You can connect with other artists, scholars, mentors. You can conduct your research or make new work. So I'd love to hear from you. Can you talk a little bit about what you got out of this program?
That's like, it's very layered because there's so many different things coming out of this program that I didn't even expect to receive. I kind of went into it with no expectations. When I got approached for it, I was like, this sounds really cool and like almost like too good to be true. Like really, like you want to just like offer me comfort and just like be like, hey, I support you, like no strings attached, like just we're here just to be supportive. It was like, okay, because like I was finishing my debut graphic novel, and so things would just sort of blow up in my face. And I'm like learning, I'm having this learning experience, and it was great to have this community, and it was also great to have this opportunity to admit things to myself that like I often don't really talk about. And how can I be more vulnerable in sharing, you know, being an artist with disability, but also sharing that in my characters and the work that I put out there. Because like when you're already Black, you're already queer, I'm coming, you know, I was socialized as a woman, even though now that I go by non-binary, but I still existed under that such societal pressure of being marginalized. And it's like, then you want to also then give them something else, like, oh, also I have this disability. It's just like the world that we live under like treats everything that you are as sort of like an inconvenience. And this program was like, we're actually really excited about you and your differences, and we want to make those shine. We want you to not be afraid of it or not to have to, you know, feel ashamed. Just having that in this program for 3 months, people just being like, I'm not asking more of you, I'm just here, how can I support you just being you? And that's why I really, that's what I got out of it. You know, the book's done, that's really exciting, but yeah, just that communal part, especially post-2020, I crave community.
What is the name of your book?
My book is called Punk Rock Karaoke.
Oh.
It comes out. I am curious in how, you know, we all work in these narratives, you know, with, you know, you write music, and I saw that you do photography and illustration, and just like how you combine, like use your work as a narrative.
For me, the inspiration comes out of nowhere, and it's ideas that are subtle that you think like, oh, that was just a passing idea. But I decided that I would do this with a cellist. And at that time when I was out of words and didn't know exactly what to say about what I was living through, I allowed myself to do more. It's called Silky Syllables in Cello. So it's literally whatever sounds I had felt and were feeling at that moment. I let that go out, and I let, with this cellist, like we created such a beautiful, like comfortable space that it did happen and it came out. I love this, and I love going back to it because now learning about Cripistemology and how there is this wisdom that we share as people with disabilities, I try to go back to that and listen and see, what was I saying? Is there something that I was saying here? And there are no words, so it's not like literally what was, but it was that sound. And I'm hoping that that feeling, that there is a feeling and that there is something there that other disabled people connect to as well.
That's really also interesting about what you said about you created this piece that there's no words to it, but what were you saying? And sometimes creating something out of just the need to create, and then realizing like the hidden message you put in something that you didn't even realize you were putting in it when you were creating it, but then you see it in the future. And you're like, whoa, that's way deeper than like even what I intended. Like I'll even go back and read some of my work and be like, oh, whoa, I just was mad that day. And so I just poured it out, and then you can sort of unpack it and look at it again. And you're like, it informs yourself. It feels like this higher thing, yeah.
Yeah.
You all are going right into my next question.
Oh, great.
So one of these opportunities in the residency program was to help artists learn about, expand, or contribute to the idea of disability aesthetics. What form did that take for you, and how do you situate your own work in disability aesthetics?
When I started this, I started with the question of what does disability sound like? And that's kind of what's driven most of my work. And it sounds like so many things, and so many different projects that like even now that I'm working with a more kind of alternative rock Spanish band, disability sounds different there. That album that I put out, it's called De tu miedo aprendí, so from your fear I learned. It sounds like there was a lot of anger there, and there was a lot of staring back, and there was a lot of like, if you hear this and you feel uncomfortable, that's was intended, because in finally returning everything that's been just shoved at me. It's like, well, where do I put this? And I'm giving it back now, you know, and letting it go. And so in that case, that's driven most of my work to see all the different sounds of disability and what it could be.
Breathing slowly. Breathing slowly.
What form does that take on for you?
We did a live comics reading. As visual artists and working in comics medium, it goes beyond just language. Like you can, a really good comic, you should be able to understand even without the text being there. But that's still only catering to, being the visual part of it. Like how can we even go beyond what we can see and reach out to other disability groups, like people who are visually impaired, or even sign language, all of these things, and how can I bring that?
You see, I feel like as artists, we have that pressure. This is what I've been thinking about a lot too. Especially if we're disabled, people expect us that our work should be accessible, like entire, so unlike other artists, which they don't, I feel like, have as much of that pressure behind them. We do, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, also we each are telling a specific part of the story, and I feel like when you combine all of our art together, there is the big accessible piece that we've been looking for, rather than how do I as one person do all of this,
So what does that mean to you then, to be part of the Chicago disability arts community?
It's exciting. It's exciting seeing what ideas that have been maybe pushed aside or hidden away are finally coming out. And to meet more people that think similar to you, it's like, it's a whole new life. Yeah.
Just to see other avenues and other types of people being represented in work, even just us here all as people of color, like that's really cool. And for it to not feel, the one thing about this program is it doesn't feel tokenized. And when you enter other spaces that there's no umbrella, you kind of feel like you might just be the token one. Like, did you really like my art, or did you really like that I checked these boxes for you? And in this program, it's like, oh, I got chosen for my art and not because of this other thing, and it made me feel more confident in myself as an artist, and confident in saying that I'm an artist with a disability.
I have a visual impairment. I'm legally blind. So when you're mainly in a sighted space or with sighted people, it's so important to like first get to know me or like love me as a human being, and then I can talk to you about the disability component and all of that. But it's very vulnerable, and but you have to balance that with also that there is a disability pride that I feel from my identity. So that's why I am open to explaining. Yeah.
I love hearing the pride and the confidence that has come out for you being part of the disability community. That's great. What about challenges? Have you faced challenges in gaining access or funding or training within the arts field?
Everything is online. I'm not extremely great with my screen reader yet, and my visual impairment is progressive. So a lot of the things I am learning over time, it's a little bit different for me. Yeah, and then when you bring on discrimination, and these days more like covert, that's another challenge that you have to navigate.
One that I faced recently was earlier this summer. There was a zine comics festival, and it changed locations from where it used to be. The problem with this place was that the fluorescent lighting had like a E to it, and it was flickering. So for me, having a seizure disorder, I was like, well, this is just a ticking time bomb for me. I ended up giving my table away, and it's like one of my best shows. And so then I also took a financial hit from it because I couldn't bear to be in there anymore. Yeah, just in the art world, it sucks because it's almost like you expect better from us when it's in the art realm than like outside the art crew. And then it's the cool, cold world of corporate capitalism, you expect it, but when it's us, it's just like, oh, let's do better.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, like what you said, a lot of the content being, very close to and topics about disability.
Exactly.
So that's interesting. So what is next now? What are you dreaming of for your own practice and for the disability arts movement?
Just physical spaces and venues is next. So now that I have the art, I have something to present, and how to find more accessible spaces to present. That's the next step. I'm in
this space, this mindset now where I kind of just want to be more unapologetic about who I am. If I'm at a show and there's a strobe, I'm going to be like, hey, this is actually quite harmful, and I want to converge, the disability scene with the punk scene and the art scene, and just how can we all do better? Exactly. Like how can we all do better? And how can we keep each other accountable? That it's doesn't just fall on one of us, but that we can build community and want to shake things up and want just to be able to leave our homes and feel comfortable, and what a concept.
Thank you both. I look forward to seeing your work evolve and continue, and thank you for the conversation today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes when I sleep, I have the brightest dreams. Disabled children of immigrants and first generation parents will love